Howdy, Full Metal Cowboy, straight shooting a review of Street Fighter, the live-action film. This review in particular was requested by a YouTube buddy of mine known as Mackenzie Critiques. He has wanted me to look at this film for some time now, and I thought it was appropriate that I talk about the live-action Street Fighter film after I went through the Seattle Retro Gaming Expo. Because after all, Street Fighter is retro, and it is based on a video game franchise. So, I figured, why not? Well, now that the Seattle Retro Gaming Expo has came and went, the wait is over. Finally, I am going to review the live-action Street Fighter film right now. Now, I don't sit well with films based on video games because a lot of them tend to suck. There's only a few films based on video games that I actually do enjoy. Street Fighter II, the animated movie, just for its action spectacle alone, and Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, which is the film sequel to Final Fantasy VII. So, that means I hate the live-action Street Fighter film, right? Actually, no I don't! I really enjoyed the live-action Street Fighter film, but I would hardly call it fucking greatness, because it's not. It's not even that good of a film. But you want to know something? 2 words. Guilty pleasure. And the live-action Street Fighter film is a guilty pleasure of mine, after having seen it. Now, I do want to see great films, don't get me wrong, but at times I would like to see a bad film once in a while to balance things out. And it's nice that the live-action Street Fighter film is not that great of a film, but I can find great enjoyment in it because of numerous moments sprinkled out throughout the live-action Street Fighter film. Now, while there was not much emphasis and plot in the Street Fighter games, for some reason the live-action Street Fighter film does in fact have a plot involving a hostage rescue mission. Now, let me ask you this, does that sound anything remotely like anything that would be established in Street Fighter? No. So why the hell is this called Street Fighter? This should be called Hostage Rescue! Seriously! The title is a lie! The acting throughout the live-action Street Fighter film is a mix of laugh-inducing performances. Either the performance is underwhelming, laughably bad, or over the top. Let's start with Jean-Claude Van Damme laughable. Every time Guile speaks in the entire runtime, I cannot stop chuckling or laughing my ass off.
We can all go home. Well, I'm not going home. I'm gonna get on my boat, and I'm going upriver, and I'm going to kick that son of a bitch Bison's ass so hard that the next Bison wannabe is gonna feel it. Now, who wants to go home? And who wants to go with me? Are you men enough to fight with me?
Anyone who opposes me will be destroyed.
Carl, you can't!
Oh yes, I can. Just take the hostages out. If I'm not topside in 15 minutes, evacuate without me. Both of you. That's an order. Bison, you're on the air.
And of course, there's Raul Julia, who is actually the best thing about the live-action Street Fighter film.
Of course!
Why? Because he's the most enjoyable actor to watch on screen. Plus, he had way too much fun playing M. Bison.
You still refuse to accept my godhood. Keep your own god. In fact, this might be a good time to pray to him. For I beheld Satan, and he fell from heaven like lightning!
And then there's Chun-Li, played by Ming-Hua Wen, who I did not know would later voice the character Mulan in the 1998 Disney film Mulan. And lately she has been playing the role of Agent May in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Cool. Now, seeing as how the Street Fighter video games involve fighters from all over the world, and the live-action Street Fighter film follows the same suit, of course, this film would call for diverse casting. Noir, can you please let me do my video, you sure love to interrupt me in reviews and live streams and all that. Yeah, I'm looking at you. Cats. Little troublemakers, aren't they? This adaptation does take liberties, however, such as Honda being a Hawaiian sumo wrestler. Now, while that may make no sense to some people, keep in mind that while sumo wrestling did originate in Japan, it's not an exclusive sport to Japanese athletes. People from outside of Japan can also participate in sumo wrestling. Honda, however, was originally Japanese in the video games, but having him Hawaiian in this version may leave some people scratching their heads wondering why he's not the right nationality from the games. Honestly, it's a moot point to complain about because this film isn't really that great, so there's really not much to complain about Honda in this version. Besides, he doesn't really play a huge part in the live-action Street Fighter film, so there's really not much room to complain about with Honda at this point. And the same can be said about Zangief. He's not played by a Russian actor, and he's got some screen time throughout the entire film, and honestly, he doesn't play a major role either. Although, he does have the funniest line in the live-action Street Fighter film.
Quick, change the channel!
How about another fan-favorite character like Ryu? Oh, excuse me, I meant Ryu. Seriously, how did we get Ryu mixed up in pronunciation for this version? The best way I can describe Ryu is that he sounds overdubbed. Now, while I do greatly enjoy the live-action Street Fighter film as a guilty pleasure of mine, the one thing that disappoints me about this film in particular is the fight choreography, mixed in with the shot composition. And upon my research, I found out that the live-action Street Fighter film involved a karate champion training the cast members, given the source material is about fighting. And yet, the fighting looks laughable, to the point that I don't enjoy them. They look boring. And adding to the shot compositions of how certain moves look, it just looks unappealing. But I will say that the fight between Guile and M. Bison was entertaining to say the least. And as expected, the hostages are saved, and the ending just happens abruptly. And now I finally sat through the live-action Street Fighter film, and as I've said before in this review, this is a guilty pleasure of mine. And you know what? The best part about this whole film was Raul Julia.
Of course!
Yeah, I walked myself into that one, but it is sad to know that this was the final performance given by Raul Julia, as he was suffering with cancer during the production of the live-action Street Fighter film. And I also find the performance commendable as to how he landed the role. His kids were big fans of Street Fighter, so that was why he pursued the role in a Street Fighter film. And he got the role of M. Bison, and clearly he is the best part about the live-action Street Fighter film.
Of course!
And yes, the live-action Street Fighter film is not great at all. I think I made that point clear early on in this review. Yes, it's got laughable acting. Yes, it has a bullshit plot that doesn't really make a good translation from the video game it's based on. Yes, it has bad fight choreography, which is the only thing I didn't enjoy about this film. And as I've already stated before a couple of times, the live-action Street Fighter film is a guilty pleasure. I can go back into this and have fun with it. And since the Street Fighter franchise is a Capcom property, I'll say this. I would rather watch the live-action Street Fighter film than watch most of the Resident Evil films over again. I'm going to be shooting a 3 out of 10 for the live-action Street Fighter film. And that is my review of the live-action Street Fighter film. McKinstry critiques, I hope this was worth the wait. So, where do I go beyond here?